Hello there, my name's Ms.RedNebula, and welcome to another Game Dev in Progress diary. For the last week or so, I've actually gotten quite a lot of stuff done and learned quite a lot. I think a few things have sort of clicked into place, and I was finding that I had started to do more coding just writing code out rather than having to look things up every time that I'd wanted to do something new. So I feel like that's pretty good progress. It's usually a good feeling when that happens. A lot of the stuff that I've done over the last week has really kind of been more under the hood work, so the front end looks maybe a little bit different. Obviously the graphics haven't changed or anything like that yet, but a lot of it's kind of some of the behind the scenes stuff that I've gotten working a little bit better and my understanding of it working a little bit better. So first off is that I added the, remember how things were just falling and then stayed there infinitely once they fell? I added a sort of a despawn or a death zone where the items, once they fell below the screen, would be despawned, as you can see. One of the main things that I was researching this week was a concept called object pooling, which is instead of, how do I explain this? Instead of taking an object and popping it into existence, and then as soon as it either hits the player or goes out of bounds of the scene, destroying that object and then creating it again, destroying it again, creating it again, destroying it again. What an object pool does is it keeps that object in existence and just sort of makes it visible and invisible depending on what's going on in the scene. Like it becomes visible at the top of the screen, falls down to the bottom and goes invisible again and basically is disabled. And then it is re-enabled when it's needed again. So it's basically a way that you keep the system from getting a lot of garbage built up in it that in your memory that you then have to go back and clean up after. So the way this works in practice is that every time that one of these objects is created, it appears under this drop spawn pooler here, and it'll only create as many objects as it ever needs to have on the screen at once. Since you can really only ever have 3 items on the screen at a given time, or I think it's actually 2 items on the screen at a given time, then it doesn't really need to create that many items overall, and you can see that after a while, it won't have any more than these 6 items unless you just have like 3 of the exact same thing spawns one after the other, so 6 to 9 items is all that will ever be here. Since it's not destroying them, it's not taking up that space of create, destroy, create, destroy, create, destroy. You can see they're being grayed out, which means that they're being disabled and re-enabled. But they always exist in the scene, so it's not eating up as much memory as if they were existing and then not existing. I hope that makes sense. It's a weird concept and kind of a complicated one, and it was fun to get my head wrapped around this, but once I did, it's like, really, this shouldn't make that much difference for a game like this if it was being played on PC, but if I wanted to, say, port this over to a smartphone, then it would actually make a great deal of difference. That memory allocation and the cleanup procedure can cause these spikes that would basically make the game lag out for a second or two. Obviously, that's not something you want, because this is still running fairly slow the way that I've got it set up here, but I want this to be relatively fast-paced. And of course, the speed increases over the length of the game as well. Another fix that I made was in the way that the character jumps. See, jumping is rather more complicated than you expect it to be, because you think, okay, well, moving a character to the right, moving a character to the left, that's easy enough, right? So if you make a character jump, then that just means that you move them up in the air. Well, it sort of works that way, except if you hit that jump button, you want to move them up in the air, but then they just keep going if you just keep hitting the jump button. So you need some way of knowing whether the character is connected to the ground. The way I did that was creating this little jump contact point underneath the character, and then using a script that basically checks to see is that point in contact with the ground, and if so, the character's allowed to jump, otherwise they won't jump, obviously. So now I've enabled my script that makes it so that the character can't jump unless they're in contact with the ground. So as you can see, no matter how many times that I hit the jump button, the character only jumps when they're in contact with the ground. You can also see that it's telling me here I have contact with the ground right here. The next thing that I added was for just a little bit more urgency, is you've got a hunger meter here at the bottom of the screen. So every item that you can catch increases that, so you're feeling nice and full. You've got to catch these, pretend like the magnets are pieces of pizza and the little asteroid-looking things are cookies, right? Because that's what they're going to be representing. The bombs, on the other hand, are these poison pellets. If you want to avoid them, because otherwise you get a major hit to your hunger bar, and you've got to catch more of these other things. So like each of the pieces has a different hunger value. As you can also see, I made it so that once it gets down below the halfway point, it turns yellow, give you a little bit of a warning. And it'll actually, if I leave it be for a little bit here, there we go. It goes red when it reaches the 25% mark. And right now the effect that has is, of course, if you get all the way to 0, right now all it's going to do is just reset the game, so let's grab a couple of poison pellets. Oops, okay, we died, so it just resets us back to the beginning again. There will be a death scene, a death animation, and all of that. Same thing will actually happen if the character leaves the play area. And I mentioned that I was probably going to be hitting up a few more tutorials just to get myself a little more well-rounded understanding of exactly how everything works in Unity. This one is one of the new Unity tutorials that they made for their 2018 and 2019 release, so happily, for once, I'm working with tutorials that are like 5 years out of date. And it was a really cool experience because this is a lot more of the 2D engine and how it works. So learned how to use these things called tile sets to rapidly be able to build customized background scenes and stuff. And of course, this one's a sort of adventure game where you're running up, down, left, right. So let's play. Got sound effects, got music going in the background and stuff. These are collectibles, but since I've got full health right now, they're not going to do anything. And as you can see, the character moves different directions, down and up. She has these things that she can throw because that's how you fix these broken robot guys. If you hit the spikes, you get hurt, and if you saw there was a little particle effect there, likewise when I go to collect these collectibles, a little particle effect pops up to show that I got healed. And the tile set includes the ability to make certain tiles impassable, so like the water tiles you can't walk on, right? Have a little character down here that you can talk to. It says, oh, I need to fix all those broken robots. But if you're farther away from him, he doesn't do anything. And if you're near but you're not facing him, it doesn't do anything either. So it's got a script in there to allow him to only know that you're close up to another character and actually within range of them and facing them. Alright, let me find another little collectible here. So I love that particle effect thing. I am absolutely in love with particle effects right now. And in fact, that was one of the next things that I did with this game, is created an alternate version of my little asteroid-looking cookie, where it's got a particle effect attached to it to show that it might be a little bit of a rotten cookie. So the idea is going to be that if you hit one of the rotten ones, you will still get a little food value out of it, but it's going to slow the character down and make things more difficult for you. So that's pretty much where I'm at with this one at the moment. I'm getting further along and feeling a lot more confident than I was. As I said down in the description for the last Dev Diary video, that my deadline for creating a finished game is July 14th of this year. So we'll see if I can do it. I'm feeling very confident at this point. My plan is probably to just put it out on itch.io as a free game. because it's my very first one, and I would absolutely love to see people's reactions to it if anybody out there is interested in playing this when it comes out. Obviously, there's a lot left to do to make it look anything like or feel anything like a completed game, but it should be pretty fun for what it is. My goal for the upcoming week is mostly going to be getting the look of it down, so I'm going to be drawing some assets for it and making the look of it my own rather than all of these pre-made assets that I just kind of threw together just to get something working, right? Probably going to be adding more particle effects because, like I said, I'm kind of obsessed with them right now and starting to get some sounds in. Alright, so that's it for this one. Feel free to like or comment, and if you want random updates from my little world of art and gaming, subscribe. If you enjoy what I do and are interested in supporting the channel, check out my Patreon. A big thank you to my current patrons. That's all for now. Bye!